Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. All right. Is that you, Crystal Patrick, on already? Just sending out a message. Excellent. All right. Welcome, everybody. As you're tuning in, if you're not downloaded, if you've just downloaded, rather. All right, Crystal. You since you're the only one talking right now, I'm going to hear your confession. I have a confession. I choose to be in love with Gil Guerrero. Okay, Crystal. That's awesome. You choose to be in love with Gil. Gil is a worthy gentleman, and I must admit, you'll have to stand in line because there are a number of people who do. I will reach out to him and let him know that you're choosing to be in love with him, and if he feels the same way, then who knows? Maybe that'll be a match, but no promises. He is an incredible human being. So thank you for recognizing that. Okay. Listen, if you're just joining us, please let us know, first of all, who you are and where you're from. Don't just come on as MAFP user, but I would love it if you could get yourself a name, et cetera. Okay, great. And other people are coming on. Look, we're in beta phase, and one thing we are doing is we're working to make sure that other people's names do show up. So I hear you, Crystal. You can only see our names, but there are. I get a report weekly every time we're on it, and there are so many people on who never say anything, which is perfectly fine. So trust that other people are on. Hi, Odessa from Connecticut. Hey, Sabine from California. Excellent. Good evening, everybody. Awesome to see you guys. Oh, thank you, Odessa. I appreciate that. Listen, we're going to we're planning some exciting things. Oh my God, I wish I could tell you everything that's going to be happening with this app. Hi, Belinda. I wish I could tell you everything that's going to be happening. I cannot tell you everything right now because until we completely developed it, I don't want to spill the beans. But I do want you to know that the app, even the way it's looking, the way it is right now, is going to undergo somewhat of an overhaul. We've been testing. The beta phase means that we're in a testing phase. We're seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work. And I'm so happy that you guys are on board with us. Hi, Lynn. How are you? Y'all don't know this, but Lynn's my niece. I'm so glad you guys are on board to help us through this process as we get this app to where it needs to be. The lives we feel are really going well right now. This is something we do know works very well. But there are other things also that we're going to be doing. Like if you're in a group, probably this week, before the week's out, you're going to be see me reaching out to a couple of the groups just to chat and to get people involved in those as well. But it's going to be awesome. So if you're not in, tell your friends right now, and we're going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. Okay. So thank you so much for your participation. And yes, Odessa, you'd love to be a coach. Yes. Please, in the contact area where it says contact us, just put your information out there. And, we're going to be looking for people to work in the app also. So please let us know who you are and what you do. All right. Let's continue. We're going to talk a little bit more about social media and its effect on relationships. We talked about that last week, and I want to do a part 2 today. And I need you guys to be knee deep involved because the more we talk about this thing, the more interesting it gets. Because face it. We are in a technological revolution, the likes of which we've never seen in my lifetime. If you look at where life has come from 20, 30 years ago to now, I I remember, I'm a little older than some of you, but I remember when I got my first computer, and it came in these two massive boxes. One box was just the monitor, and one box was just the CPU. Massive size things, but from that, we now have gotten to a point where we have just these little phones, and you can pretty much do anything, probably launch a shuttle from just a phone. So things have gotten quite different, and people have become absorbed in social media. They become absorbed in it. So I just want you to understand something, that we're living in an unprecedented time, and as a result, it's having an unprecedented effect on relationships, an unprecedented effect on relationships. So let's talk about this. Now, I don't know if you've ever been in a relationship where you've lost a mate to social media, or you've lost a mate to the internet, or there's something, where you're sitting down and you're talking, but you're not talking because your heads are down in the phone all the time. I want to share with you, and I want you to chime in and let me know if this is something you've experienced, or please give me your questions. And you're absolutely right. Face-to-face interactions are pretty much extinct now. And it's pretty sad, but let's talk about the effects that this is having on relationships. Because as we move forward and talk about these things, this, especially if you're single, this is something definitely that you need to get a handle on. You need to really know what's going on here, because when we do match you, and our matchmaking is coming, and I'm so excited about it, but when our matchmaking happens and you do find that special person for you, I want you to be able to know how to navigate social media, okay? Because you will be finding that person on an app. But when that happens, you must understand the value of face-to-face tactile interaction as opposed to screen and text interaction. There is a big difference, and we must get a handle on it. Okay? Very important. So let's talk about social connections. Let's talk about social connections. First of all, social media platforms have definitely provided us an opportunity we've never seen before. Okay? Crystal says she has nothing but an IG account with 2 pictures on it. And I'm Miss Mystery over here. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I so appreciate that. I honestly do. And we're going to talk a little bit about mystery. I'll jump into that a little bit. But and I think that's something that's missing in relationships, because one thing the social media platform provides is for opportunities, I believe, for people to sustain sort of a one-way or a unilateral psychological connection with a wide range of people without any real reciprocal relationships. And let me say that again. One of the biggest challenges is that people can form a unilateral or a one-way psychological connection with a wide range of people without any kind of reciprocation. No reciprocal relationship. What is the problem there? The problem is that if you are forming all of these one-way relationships online, and this is probably not just for married people, this is for single people also. And I'm going to give you an example. If you're following all these people and you have all these one-way relationships where you have bought into their world, you have bought into their lives, you've bought into their stories and their narratives, and you don't know them. You don't know them from a can of paint. You don't know them from Adam's house cat. You have no idea who these people really are. But you bought into these people and you have a one-way psychological relationship, a unilateral relationship. What happens is that it causes a great deal of letdown. If that person is blocked, it causes a lot of letdown if there is no reciprocation. Now, it's amazing that if a person likes you that you've been following, there is an adrenaline rush. But if that person blocks you, there is a corresponding letdown, which in a lot of cases can be depressing for a lot of people. I need you to really get this. Because whereas I believe social media is going nowhere, I believe we must monitor it, okay? Because look, if you do not monitor it, okay, and you read my mind there, Odessa is saying that it's what's called a disconnection anxiety. It's sort of an anxiety that comes from being separated from a person, or an anxiety that comes from a relationship that never really existed. Okay? And this is incredibly, incredibly different for this society. This is so weird. It's so different because you're connected with people who you don't even know. Let me give you a prime example. Saturday night specifically, because the U.S. government felt that, or the federal courts rather, felt that there was TikTok was being used for spyware, and jury's out on that. Whether or not it's true, you can debate that at another forum. But because that's happening, it went to the federal court and the Supreme Court that there would be a ban on TikTok unless it was sold out of China and into someone else's hands. As of Saturday night, TikTok was shut down. Boy, the fallout and the withdrawal that people were going through and the absolute horror that folk were feeling, it was as though you had taken away relationships. I hope we get what just happened. Because anytime these vacant relationships affect you that much when they're gone, and you never really had them, you don't know them, you don't know their address, you never sat at their house for tea, you've never been to their house for dinner, you know nothing about them. But anytime relationships leave and you are that much affected, you're affected that greatly about it, you have to start asking yourself the question, is this healthy? Is this a healthy connection? Okay. Now, mind you, again, I do not have a problem with connecting on socials. But you have to monitor it. Let's look at some of these comments. And they think they know you by watching your social media. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. For a few hours, people were going crazy. I had ended Facebook in my last relationship, Crystal says, due to my partner feeling like they could not compete. Thank you for that. I have encountered a number of people who have felt that way, that it's almost like competing with a virtual person. The mind doesn't know any different. The mind looks at that connection that you've made as a real connection. And so then when you separate from that person, the mind feels that as a separation. So to a real life partner, that could look like competition. And in fact, it is. It is. How do the overuse and addiction to social media impact marriages? And thank you for that. This is one way that it definitely does. How does it impact marriages? It opens the door, number one, to secrecy. It allows an ease of secrecy. Let me let you know something. If you're having an IRL, in real life affair, you're going to get caught because you got to sneak around. Especially in these days where, everybody at home working and everything, you got to sneak around. You got to sneak around on the phone. You got to have these little rendezvous meetings. Like me and Mrs. Jones, we meet every day at the cafe at 6:30, whatever. Yeah, okay, that's old school. Y'all don't know about that. But, there's all these things happening that you have to do in order to have that done. Now you can sit down. You can sit and go to a different room. You can go anywhere, get on the phone, and simply just talk to anyone. People you've never heard, people you've never met. I talked to a gentleman once who has numerous relationships with people around the world, has never met any of them, but there are emotional attachments to them. Now, what happens, those emotional attachments eventually lead to physical attachments because there was travel in order to attach to these people. So the ease of secrecy is one way it affects marriages, okay? Another way, it incites jealousy and suspicion, okay? Excessive social media use can trigger jealousy and suspicion in a relationship, especially when the partner is interacting with others online, even if those interactions are innocent. You don't want anybody to be talking intimately or to be talking personally, okay, with someone else. The beautiful thing about a marriage, or even about a real committed relationship, is that you're only supposed to share your innermost secrets with that person. Yet there is a facade that we get from social media, where we feel we are comfortable in sharing our innermost feelings with other people. You've seen the popular TV show Catfish, where these people are often duped and taken for granted by folk where they've shared their hearts with, they pour things out, and these people basically are not even who you think they are. Okay? Again, this is not an anti-social media tirade. I'm simply saying you must use it wisely and carefully. Okay? And you can mask emotional affairs. That's what Wendy says here. Let me share this with you. There's a difference, and I mentioned this last week. There's a difference between affairs in the head and affairs in the bed. Okay? Affairs in the bed are easy. They're rather easy to define. You go sleep with somebody, but affair in the head can happen at any time. It can happen in any way. And quite often what happens is that you build these mental relationships with people. You compare your significant other to them, and they can never measure up because people are using filters. People are using all these facades. People have these pictures of BBLs that they've done. They flash themselves all over the place. It's something that no one can really compete with. Okay. And just the sheer volume that people, that you're exposed to, it can make it incredibly difficult. Okay. And also, so if there's a trigger for jealousy, there's also an impact on trust. Okay. All right. So those are some of the ways that it does affect your marriages. It can affect your relationship. Okay. Let's see here. Yes. And lastly, Lynn, BBL culture is major now. It is. The BBL culture is out of control. It's out of control. And let me just share this with you. Oh God, this is going to be so controversial, but it is what it is. You know who I believe women get BBLs for? Other women. I honestly do. I believe the women do that for other women. Yeah. Because men, it's okay to look at, but when it really comes down to it, it ain't tripping that much about fake butts. It's not a big deal. No, men would rather have natural. And I've talked to literally probably thousands of men, in trying to match them. In my 16 seasons on the show, as well as in private practice, I've talked to countless men. And most of it, the great majority, I'm talking in the high percentages, would prefer a woman who's natural. Okay, let's go on. It really opens a window for the unfaithful. You're absolutely right. And I think that is a very important point. That window is completely open. Infidelity is very easy now. Okay? And we're not just talking about finding somebody and finding a place to screw. I'm talking about doing a virtual screw-in. That may be a little brash, and they probably would kick me off of Instagram for that. Okay, you can tell your spouse, oh, that's just social media fan, as you like and comment on their posts, even flirt via DMs, yes. But by the time you see them physically, you've already been in a romantic relationship, and all you have to do, oh God, is get it on. Okay, fine. What is up with the eggplant? Thank you, honey. Okay, that's my wife. Pray for her. Let's just stop now and have a word of prayer. But regardless, it's absolutely true. In her inimitable way, what my wife is saying is that when you build that emotional relationship online, you build that relationship online. You talk about intimate things. You talk about things that are personal to you. You even complain about your spouses or complain about your girlfriends, et cetera, online. So when you do meet IRL in real life, what happens is that you already have built a relationship, a virtual relationship. And if that person is who they've represented online, you're absolutely right. The only thing that's missing is that actual tactile connection, that actual physical connection, because all the other connections are in place. The greatest and the most powerful and the strongest sexual organ is the mind. That's the strongest sexual organ. And let me just veer off here for a second. if the mind is not settled, if it is not peaceful, it is difficult to engage in sex. And I think that there are some misconceptions there. People think that, well, you're a guy, you can have sex anytime. You know how many men I talk to? Now, there are some outliers. So there are exceptions to every rule. But a lot of men that I've talked to, especially the older, the more mature they've gotten, they need peace in their mind before they can get a peace in their bed. Yeah, I said that. That's just the way it is. Okay. And I think it's the same with women. We know that. We've known that for ages for women. If a woman does not have her mind together, or if she feels upset, or if she feels whatever, again, there are outliers, but more often than not, women find it difficult to make that physical transition into sex when mentally things are awry. So I'm here to say that if you can get that mental stimulation, that connection from an online relationship, it is so easy to block other relationships out of the way. And when that relationship finally becomes an IRL relationship, it turns into a full-fledged issue, a full-fledged affair. Okay? Married men sending you messages right after they post a pic with their spouse at dinner. Oh, God. Please tell me that that's not true. That is the most ratchet thing. That's the most irresponsible thing I've ever heard of. But yeah, I do believe, because it's an ease, and as I mentioned, it's such an ease. It's an ease for secrecy. It's such an ease for secrecy that I'm sure that happens. And that's why, I do a lot of work in talking to men, and we're going to be doing more of that, because men need to understand that it's necessary. It's so necessary for them, especially, to monitor social media. Because look, with all restrictions being lifted now and free speech is just going to be out of the window with the new presidency. Hey, look, the bottom line is you're going to see everything on the internet and probably everywhere. So, just protect yourself, protect your life, protect your marriage, because values still matter. Okay, something I learned from listening to your advice to many couples: protect your marriage. Thank you, exactly. Intimacy is psychological. You're absolutely right. It's true and disgusting. Wives salivating over Aaron Pierre. That's Mufasa. Yeah, absolutely. And that's a whole different thing. And one thing I do appreciate about my wife, and we kind of practice this, is that we don't get caught up into this thing of celebrity crushes. Okay? Because again, you're making a unilateral psychological connection, a celebrity crush. Okay? If you're crushing on someone, and thank God I'm not in the kind of industry, I do the TV thing, but I'm not in the kind of industry where nobody crushes on me. Okay? But if you do, if you're crushing on someone, you're building a unilateral psychological connection to that person. You're building a psychological connection that is unrequited. It will not be returned. Okay? It will cause frustration. It will cause comparison to your spouse. Aaron Pierre, okay, great looking guy. I don't know, great physical condition. Yeah, I don't want to compete with that. And thank God I don't have to compete with it. Are y'all feeling me? Ain't no disrespect to Aaron. I think he's probably a wonderful person. But the fact of the matter is, we must make sure that we water our own garden instead of watering someone else's. Read your Bible, you'll know what that means. Okay? All right. Listen, does that count for Idris? Ask Idris's wife. Okay, it does count, right? Because his wife, I'm sure, knows that other people crush on him, but hey, look, she's got first dibs. I prayed hard that I would crush on my husband. I regretted it. I became the pursuer now, but I'm blessed to crush on my one. Excellent. And that we can end on something like that. If you're going to crush on someone, we're going to talk about going forward. How do we develop a crush? What does a crush feel like? What does it look like? And how do we do that? How do we develop crushes? How do you let's start a movement. Let's start a movement of crushing on our spouses. Okay? Of crushing on our significant others. Let's start a movement of people crushing on the people they live with instead of social media icons. I believe when we do that, okay, folk are going to start feeling different about their spouses. Let's start speaking positive about the people that we love. Because the fact remains that when you speak negative about that person, the first person who hears that is you. And it affects you more than it affects anyone else. Okay? So let's start crushing on the people we love. An appreciation movement. Yes, let's do it. Start the trend. All right? All right, guys, we're going to... Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Wendy. I am your celebrity crush. That's cool. We're going to end it right here. Our time is up. We only go for 20, 25 minutes. But God bless you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to be back on Thursday. Look, I'm going to challenge you. Please, on Thursday, bring somebody with you. Okay? This is like at the old church revivals. On Thursday night, bring somebody with you. Tell a friend about these lives and join us on Thursday night. Because for a short time, for now, for the rest of this month, you're going to have the access to these for free. So please, tell somebody about it and let's increase this movement. Let's make this thing happen, okay? God bless you guys, and we will see you on Thursday.